PDR Tool Time. Tools, reviews, and stories. From techs that you can trust.
Welcome everybody to another episode of PDR Tool Time. This is episode 171. I'm your host Vince D'Alessandro along with Daniel Grom. The other two clowns are off today, so you just have myself and Daniel, and we brought in a couple special guests that we'll bring on later. And Daniel, who is this show brought to you by?
It's brought to you by Hog Glue and Hog Tabs and Magnatech Mat and CBD Direct and Mobile Tech RX.
Don't forget Edgy Tools too, where you get 15% off by typing in PDRTT15. We'll get you 15% off of the majority of the tools on there. So, how you doing, Daniel?
Good. How are you doing, man? I miss you. You went to Canada without me. I was very sad. I was very, I was missing you.
You know, it's my second trip to Canada within a month, and they're really nice people up there. They're very welcoming, and they have good food.
They let you in, huh?
They do. The only negative thing I could say about Canada is they primarily drink Canadian whiskey up there, and I'm a bourbon Kentucky type of whiskey drinker, and it was a little bit harder to find.
Oh, okay.
I don't think you're going to find rum up there from Jamaica. Actually, you know what? Jamaica is like a British colony, so maybe they might have rum up there.
That has nothing to do with Canada.
I know, but they're able to vacation down in Cuba and stuff like that. So, I don't know. Well,
that's true.
We do have a couple people that are coming on here that might be able to answer some of these questions about Jamaican rum. And
so you called me up and said, "Hey, I got a couple guys that we can bring on from Canada." And I'm like, "Sweet. We haven't interviewed anybody deep in Canada, really, have we?"
No, we haven't. No, actually, none that I could think of over the last 2.5 years. But while I was up doing the IMI training up in Calgary, it was for...
How was the event?
Oh, this last one. Edmonton event was great. It was held by PDR Canada, and they had an advanced skills seminar going on where Mike Toledo and our good buddy Mike Zahn was there, and Don Kavanaugh was there, and I think there might have been someone else. But they were doing advanced skills for the Canadian technicians up there, and I think it might have been the first of its kind. And I met Dom from PDR Canada about 1.5 years ago when he came down here to Ultra Tools to attend. Actually, you met him too, Daniel. You were there when we did that advanced skills seminar.
Yeah,
Ultra.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, great guy.
So I think he saw that as an opportunity to bring that atmosphere to Canada and get a whole bunch of technicians, PDR technicians, together in one place and show advanced skills that they might not see all that often up there, in Canada land.
But you were saying that they didn't know a lot of the guys didn't know who Mike was?
No, well, I think there's still a lot of people up there, and actually in America too, that just they're not on social media. They're not on YouTube. They're not on stuff like that. So,
got it.
God bless them.
You know what? All of our listening on is go out there and find a tech that is computer challenged and get them plugged in for us, man.
Bring
get them listen to our show.
At least listen to our podcast, if nothing else, right?
Yeah.
So
why don't you introduce our guests?
Okay. Well, when I was up in Calgary last month, I did the IMI training over at DCC Hale. And while I was there, I saw an opportunity to bring these two gentlemen on and talk about I want to say contraption, but it's not a contraption. It is the mecca of tunnels for reading dents. It's a Hale tunnel, and I wanted to bring Kent, the owner, and Devon, the manager, on to talk about what I saw, because it was highly secretive at the time, and there's posters everywhere saying don't take pictures, don't bring cameras in here. And of course, being the idiot that I was, I brought cameras in there and I was taking pictures. And so this was an opportunity.
Good job.
Oh, right. Yeah. So we're bringing them on the show. We have Kent and Devon to talk a little bit more about their Hale tunnel and what the capacity of what this machine can do, and how it's going to make it. I think it's going to revolutionize the way hail damage is going to be, estimated. So we want to welcome Kent and Devon.
Hey guys.
How you doing?
Hey, thanks for having us on.
Yes.
Yeah. What's your company?
It's called DCC Hail.
Gotcha. All right. And both of you guys been pushing for a while, right?
Yeah, almost 20 years for myself.
10 years for me.
Great. And so Vitz showed me this thing, saw the video, and I'm like, wow, that is the future. That's amazing. And I think I saw something maybe a year ago in Germany, something like it, but yours seems a little bit more advanced than theirs, because theirs was like a big room. It was like something, but yours is a drive-through. You actually drive the car through this tunnel, and it looks like a big line board for Mike Toledo, right? It's a line board tunnel, I guess. And this computer reads all the dents. Is that correct?
That is correct, yeah.
Well, why don't you? What are you guys calling it?
What's called DCC Scan.
DCC Scan. Okay, and you're going to explain it far better than us two monkeys can. So,
Yep.
So Kent, why don't you give us a rundown of what this DCC Scan can do and what it does?
Sure. Maybe I'll start back with the original technology that was available. And there was obviously some limitations to it. So the old technology was, the one that we're talking about takes up a whole room. If any of you guys out there have been Vail certified, it's basically the same technology that they use to tell you if you're a good dent guy or not, or how well you fixed that dent. And that's using photo refraction. And what it needs is a comparison. So it can't decide on its own where or how big or anything to do with a dent. It needs a comparison of a non-damaged panel or a non-damaged car to be able to compare the two to.
Right.
So that's the old technology.
Okay.
So we obviously knew that technology existed for a long time. We are all Vail certified, and we've seen the actual machine in action. And it does a decent job, but it takes up a lot of room, and it's very, very expensive, hard to transport. Obviously, and you need pre-scans, which takes up a lot of time, and there can be inaccuracies in that as well.
Sure.
So we knew the road to make this, technology available and do a really good job. It has to be AI, it has to be artificial intelligence for the computer to be able to determine where the dents are without having a pre-scan. So
Right.
the road that we went down originally was with a 3D scanner, something that could, scan basically to the smallest micron.
Yeah.
There was obviously, we found out really quick that there was too much data
Yeah.
that we had, and the time that it would take to scan a complete car would just be astronomical, and the data that you'd have to process would be astronomical, and as well as the cost. So we actually invested in a creaform scanning technology that we used, and we started scanning panels on cars, and we basically started using it like the Vail certification.
Uh-huh.
Scan a panel without damage, make a dent in the vehicle, scan it again. Then we could see the diameter of the dent, how deep the dent, the location of the dent, and then we'd repair it and see how close to original we could get it. So when you do that process, you have an A, a B, and a C. So you can compare A to B, B to C, A to C, and it gives you a lot of data. So that's really the door open for us as far as to be able to try and develop software that would be able to, because obviously we have, just do it on a small scale. We started just doing fenders, starting scanning, and started working on the software side to try and overcome those challenges. At this point, it was more an investigative for us to see, what we thought the cost would be to develop this. So it kind of stalled out probably a year into it.
Yeah.
We got in touch with a company out of Canada that said they had an AI solution. So that kind of put us almost dead in our tracks. And why would we develop something if it's already out there?
Sure.
So we waited maybe about 6 months for them to finish development on the software. They came down with our scanner and brought a more advanced scanner. the scanner that we did buy was about 85,000 just for one.
Yeah.
So the one they came to demo was about 300,000 for the scanner, came with the software. And we were still probably at the 40-minute mark to be able to scan a complete car.
40 minutes. Yeah. That's a long time.
It's a long time. So we thought, how, now that we have the technology or started that process of developing the software, we knew we could accomplish that. We looked at what technology could we use to actually get the data that we need, not too much, not too little. So we kind of went back and forth between, there's millions of different technologies out there, really. There's, LiDAR, there's 3D, there's photography, there's all kinds.
Sure.
So we decided to go with photography just in the sense that the cost, we keep the cost down, and we thought it could do a good enough job. So
are you saying photography or topography?
Photography.
Okay.
Yeah. So we basically started just with one camera on a fender, and we started doing the process to see if we could get enough data out of the camera to be able to use the AI to detect dents.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what led us down the path. And we did it on a small scale to start and kind of proven the technology and got well into the advancement of the software. And and then we made a prototype, and obviously through that process, there was many challenges that came up as far as, the shape, the size, and anything to do with technology. Obviously there is some sort of a compromise,
Sure.
On size and which vehicles you can scan and how fast you can scan it, what the end cost was. So we always had a target price in mind as far as what the overall system should cost. Because if you price it, like the one you guys were speaking of earlier, like a football field, obviously it's very costly and it's not going to be widely used in the market. So we wanted to make something that had various uses and the costs were kept to a reasonable level so that it could be used in the marketplace.
Well, and I think that's what I noticed, because in the past I've seen some that are by other large hail catastrophe companies out there, and there were big tunnels. It came in on a semi, and they had to drive through, and they were accurate, but there's always room for failure and inaccuracy and stuff like that. And I noticed when I saw your machine, I'm like, holy cow, it's just like this small little tunnel. And then when you drove it through, you drove a F-150 truck through in like 3, 4, 5 miles an hour. And next thing you know, it captured all that information. And then you go back and you look at the screen, and it's circled every single dent, and and sized them and grouped them together where there was like 3 or 4 different centers on one of them. It's like, holy cow. It was just absolutely amazing to me. It was mind blowing.
Yeah. And for me as well. When we run those cars through, literally, between 4 or 5 seconds to run a car through, takes about a minute and a half to analyze the data. And then you have an accurate dent count based on size and by panel. So it's,
let me ask you a question. Have you tried to, after your car's been fixed, have you run it through to see what's the result?
It can be used as a quality control tool. That's absolutely something.
Right? Yeah. That would be kind of interesting, because sometimes as a dent guy, you get blind after working on a panel for a long time. And you're like, I'm going to scan this thing, see if I missed anything,
Yeah. It only cost you $300,000 for one. So you can scan and check your flaws.
Yeah, exactly.
some of the other uses for the vehicles is, we've implemented this into our workflow. We control the car at our facility in Calgary when it goes out for hoods and roofs. So a lot of vehicles go off site to get that done. So we scan the car. There's another feature on the machine that just takes a scan, doesn't analyze, doesn't look for dents, but it basically captures any damage to the customer's vehicle, whether that's a rim rash or whether that's the bumpers cracked, whatever it is. So it basically
rental car companies.
Yeah, rental car companies. There's all kinds of uses for this technology.
Right.
Obviously, the one that we have in Calgary right now is the main use is a hail scanner. But for our own purposes, any car that leaves our facility, it's going out for other repairs. It gets scanned on the way out, gets scanned on the way in, so that we can just minimize any damage any customers.
Well, you minimize that customer saying, "Hey, that dent wasn't there."
Yeah,
100%.
Well, so in theory, you set this machine up, you set the tunnel up, and you're cruising cars through. Let me just ask you some rapid questions. How many cars can you scan an hour in theory?
As fast as you could drive them through.
So anywhere from 50 to 100 if you're driving them through fast enough. And
Yeah, absolutely.
and it's capturing all this data, and then it goes back and calculates. It prints out, or it doesn't print out. It's a video showing you what you could go back and forth, right? And and see every single panel, and all the dents are circled, and they're color coded by size too. Correct?
That is correct. Yeah.
So, in theory,
Is it scanning the license plate by any chance too? I mean, do you have to pre-program each car before you scan it?
So there is two bits of information that you need to tell the computer before you scan. One is the color that it closest represents, and that's to set the machine up to capture the information and the data correctly.
Okay.
And the second piece is just the body type, whether it's a 2-door or a 4-door, and that just helps the machine differentiate between
Calibrate.
models. What is a fender? What is the door? Where does the first door stop? Where does the second start? Et cetera, et cetera. So it just really helps define that.
But how do you capture like the customer's information and know who owns that car?
So for our workflow purposes, we have our own software. It's called PDR Max that we use internally for estimation and for workflow management.
Okay.
So all that information, the scanner is integrated into our software that we do license. So basically all that information is in PDR Max, and scanning is you just click a button to start the scanner. All the information is already in. We're also working with Mobile RX right now to have the scanner integrated in with their software as well.
yeah.
So that should be probably end of June, I would imagine. That'll be accomplished.
Well,
Cool.
the thing is, I saw your estimating software, and it's very robust. It's a great software as well, just like Mobile Tech RX. I'm not intimately knowledgeable about it, but the way that it was laid out, it was very robust and very efficient. I think I'm going to say it. I think this is. I'm not going to use the word game changer, but I definitely think this is something that's going to revolutionize our industry. And it's not like every dent guy out there is going to have this machine, but larger companies are going to have it, or maybe big catastrophe areas are going to have it. Daniel and we were talking about having like a concierge service where the customer has a hail claim, they drive through it, and then they go home, and then you call them to schedule, and you have a concierge, or have a driver come pick up their car when it's time to fix it, and bring it in and fix it and return it back to them. It's could be a luxurious thing.
Yeah. Super convenient.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Right. So, with this, are you actively looking for distributors throughout the world now? Is that what you're doing now?
Our focus is in the North American market for starting. I mean, obviously the machine's built for the North American market for the cars that we have, basically the workflow that we have. I mean, we've got interest from around the world on the machine. We've had several people visit from Australia and New Zealand and from Europe come over and see the machine and working. And everybody said the same thing, that they just love to have it. But I think a lot of people are waiting to see what their insurance partners say and if whether or not they'll embrace the machine or not. So we've taken that in Canada, at least. We're working with 2 different insurance partners. We have. Oh, someone played the video.
That was me. That was unintentional. I'm just grabbing the link. So I am actually going to put the link in our show notes. That way people could see exactly on YouTube what it looks like.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I think it's about getting the insurance companies to embrace the technology and grow with it. I think that's what a lot of people are waiting for. By that time, I think a lot of the market share will be already determined between, less and less companies will get bigger pieces of the pie. And I think that this machine will help dent companies, get that hail business.
Yeah, I think it would be a no-brainer for insurance companies to embrace it. It's just one guy can handle a whole catastrophe, a whole storm, basically, or a couple guys, I guess.
Yeah. Well, one of the main features of the machine is that the estimates are repeatable. Obviously in the past, if customer A comes in on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and gets a certain appraiser, the estimate could be very different the next day with a different appraiser. And with technology, you can basically eliminate that and make an estimate that is basically repeatable.
Yeah. So basically, you're dealing with artificial intelligence. You're dealing with photography of making a video and circling the dents for you. Yeah, I know. Like last year, I went to go get a crown made, and they pulled this. And I haven't had a crown in 10 years. They pulled this machine that was it reminded me of your machine a little bit because it did like a topographical picture of my tooth. They stuck this wand in my mouth and took a picture of my tooth before they ground it down to a point, and then they took it afterwards and they built a tooth off of that. And I'm thinking it's probably along the lines of the same technology where you have a smooth panel with no dents, and then all of a sudden this camera, you drive it through the tunnel, and the artificial intelligence kicks in and captures all those dents, circles them, and knowing that that's not part of the architecture of the vehicle. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
I know there's some false positives. Obviously, it's a machine, and that's why you would need the human factor to it as well.
Correct. Like when you were there, we drove Devon's F-150 that has substantial hail damage through. And yeah, it has no trouble picking up the dents. You do get some false positives through the ribbings on the roof. It just depends on the stamping, which each particular car has some false positives, sometimes around the door handles. And those are things that we can work, with the artificial intelligence and with the algorithm that we have. That's something that we can teach it along the way. And the more examples and the more data we get, the more powerful the machine will be.
Sure. And this is just the start of it, really. It's as it gains knowledge and as you're able to do more inputting and dialing it in even tighter, it's just going to get more accurate from there.
Now, you said earlier that it should be manned by a PDR tech. Is that right?
PDR. There's an operator that's required.
Okay. And why is that? Explain that.
The machine just gives you a dent count. So at this point, it does not tell you if a panel is repairable. It doesn't tell you if a dent is repairable. It just gives you the hard facts. So
okay. So what happens in the case where you might have an extreme large dent? Maybe you have 3 large dents on a hood. Besides all the regular size hail, there was some abnormal,
like an oversized dent or something. Not
So we have 10 different categories of dents that we capture, and they get grouped together based on whoever's dent matrix we're using. So, I am familiar with the U.S. matrices. Ours are slightly different. We have some here with, dime, nickel, quarter, toonie size. We have others that don't have categories. So essentially, whoever's matrix we're using, we have the flexibility to make those categories in the machine to be able to look for those dents. So anything on whoever's matrix we're using that is oversized will come up a certain color. But beyond that, we even take it, 2 steps further because we have 4 categories that are considered oversized. We go all the way up to 10 centimeters, I guess, in all reality. So any dents that are large on a panel will be of a certain color. There's a legend on the bottom of the screen that tells you which color represent which size dents. And the bigger they are, obviously, you can see them clear as day on the video as well.
Yeah. So in theory, like if someone had a big dent on their front fender from hitting the garage door or whatever, and they still come in for a scan, it's going to identify that as something that not related to it.
Yeah, at this point, everything that's a dent up to that 10 centimeters is captured as considered hail. And that's where you need an operator to be able to say, no, that is previous dents.
Sure.
That's previous damage. It's low on the door and it's 10 centimeters. It's not going to be included.
Yeah.
And then again, the false positives.
Now, it's not going to also compensate for if it's behind a brace or if it's aluminum or high strength steel or
repaired already, the Bondo or stuff like that, previous poor repair or paint or whatever.
Yeah, I know we would have a tough time with previous conventional repair. Under braces, high strength steel, that's all incorporated into that's nothing to do with the scanner, but that is incorporated into our software that it knows, we're working on a F-150, every panel's aluminum, or if we're working on a Nissan Micra, that the computer already knows that it's high strength steel.
Yeah.
So it adds the markups to the dent counts.
That's amazing. That's awesome. That's a lot of work.
I was actually listening to the podcast you guys did with Paul Corden on the way back from the lake the other day, discussing how to charge for double oversized, triple oversized dents. And this technology just allows you to have that backup when you're talking to an appraiser or an adjuster and say, listen, like, this is 80 millimeters. An oversized dent is 28 millimeters. We can fix this, but this is outside the scope of any matrix. So that, gives you that extra backup to be able to prove your case and hopefully get the money.
Yeah.
Now what about, let's fast forward to the future. And
this is the future, Daniel. This is like futuristic technology. I feel like we're traveling.
I'm taking this machine into the future, and I'm a dent guy. I'm not a hail guy, but I have tons of money. I have money to burn, so I buy one of your machines, but I want to use it as just my regular dent estimator. Is that a possibility in the future?
Yeah, it is a possibility. It's just a matter of, setting when you build the algorithm, you're basically giving the computer information that you're seeking, and all of their information becomes kind of irrelevant. So at this point in time, anything bigger than 10 centimeters, the machine won't capture or won't find or won't even look for.
But you could program it to do big stuff, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be pretty sick. I'd like that.
Well, Daniel, when you retire from doing dent removal, I expect you to buy one of these machines and just charge dent guys to scan their vehicle or.
I want to actually be known as the oldest living dent guy doing dents.
Well, I don't know. There's guys that are older than you that have been doing dents longer.
Sure, but they might quit sooner than later. So.
Right. Yes.
I'm going to be 98, still pushing dents.
Well, here's the thing. Daniel's really big on building a PDR museum with tools. So you might need this technology in your museum later on in life when you retire and build that museum of yours.
Yeah, I interviewed those guys. That was the technology back there. Now it's done by a little tiny drone.
Right.
Flies over your car.
Yeah. And robots are fixing the dents.
Yeah. And we're
with dry ice.
Yeah.
In the future, they will finally figure out how to fix a dent with dry ice.
Yeah.
So, well, that's cool. I'm so happy for you guys. I mean, it was earth shattering when I saw that machine in action, and to see how it worked so quickly and efficiently. I thought it was groundbreaking. I really did.
So let me ask you this: Are we going to see you guys at MTE to see this machine in person by chance?
We've gone the last 3 years and had an exhibitor. We plan on going this year. We also have another conference the same weekend, so we're not. We might have to play rock paper scissors to see who gets to go.
How about the one in Vegas?
Yeah, Vegas, September. It's closer than to Alberta than Florida.
Yeah, it definitely is. Yeah.
Well, I can tell you at this point, we're committed to the Orlando show.
Yeah.
As far as Vegas goes, I don't think it's in the cards for us. It's kind of right in the heat of the hail season for us here.
Yeah,
that's right. You guys got a different hail season than we do down here. As that warm weather starts moving north, you get it a little bit later in the season, huh?
Yeah.
Well, the way this year's going so far, you guys might have a storm in the fall, because it seems like it got late going down here.
Yeah, well, it snowed yesterday here, so it's it's far away from hail season.
Yeah.
Let's talk about practicality of this right now. So you guys have this up and running in your shop, right?
Yes.
What advantages have you seen it for yourselves in running this machine in your shop? I mean, are customers wowed by this thing and going, wow, I'm absolutely in the right place. I'm going to have you fix my car rather than the guy down the street that's doing it by paper and circling everything on my paint?
Yeah, I think there's many. I mean, from a customer service standpoint, I think everybody that sees it, most customers we have already had hail damage once or twice before, so they do have an experience. So when they come into the shop and see the machine and how it was calculated, I think they're just blown away. So we review the videos with the customers so they can see exactly where the damage is. And a lot of times, in the past, it would be, oh, did you catch that one on this panel? Or my husband noticed a dent on that panel. So, we basically have a blueprint of the car with all the hail dents that we can show them and they can take with if they like. So it just alleviates all those questions. I think it's just professionalism. They really just appreciate the fact that they have a better understanding of where all the dents are on their car. So,
are you advertising it too?
The machine
that you have?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Now, in theory, you could just send them the video by email or whatever, and they could literally see their car going into the tunnel and all those dents being circled, and there's your damage, and they could go back and reference it themselves.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing, I mean, I know everyone's been through it where it's, I got some hail damage, but I'm pretty sure I only got maybe 10 dents on my hood, and then you hand them a $4,000 estimate, and they're like, whoa. This doesn't make any sense. And then they start questioning, like, are you trying to rip them off? And the scanner, I mean, it takes it right out of the equation. They get a copy of the video and they can review it and see, well, you actually have 100 dents on your hood and you only saw 10 of them, but they're there.
And then the next comment is, can you only fix the 10 that I see? Right.
Right. Totally.
Yeah,
for sure. And from a customer, from a workflow standpoint, from our, operational side, the scanner obviously we're just way more efficient in the ability to estimate more estimates in a day, more customers. So the more customers we can put through the building in a day, obviously the more potential for revenue for us. So.
Oh, and absolutely, because think of it, if you're running a storm or whatever, and it's like you got 100 cars out in your lot, and you're like, oh crap, I got to inspect every single 100 cars and circle dents and you write oversized and this and that on it, and now you have a machine that's going to whip through 100 cars in under an hour potentially, and everything is done for you. I mean, it takes how many man hours to run over 100 cars and estimate them, opposed to a machine that's going to do it in an hour, and then you just have to go back and just quality check it.
It's really night and day, and like I said before, we do a lot of dealership estimating. So when dealers get it with hail, we'll go and appraise the cars on behalf of the insurance company. And the biggest thing when dealing with dealerships is, and even at our shop, it's staffing it so that you have the right amount of guys moving cars and bringing cars and just trying to be as efficient as possible. But, with this system, we can scan 200 cars before we actually have to analyze the video. So on a dealer loss that has 150 vehicles, we can go there, we can say, give us 3 guys for half the day and we'll just run them through, go back to the hotel, analyze the data. Then, we're limiting the effect we're having on their day-to-day business. And it also helps us at our retail locations, because it's the same thing. We don't have to have, as many people involved in the estimating process during a cat storm. So.
Yeah. And the claims are going to go through faster, and they're going to get their checks faster, and the repairs you're going to be able to utilize and get on the repair right away. And it seems so efficient. It's just amazing. It really is.
So Ken, I'm sold. I want to buy one. How much?
For you?
Sure, for me.
I mean, the retail price on these are $300,000 US.
Okay, and that gives me software free for how long?
2 years, and then after 2 years, it's on a subscription basis. Yeah.
And do you have a cost of that yet?
In Canada, it's about $650 a month, so we'd be in the $550 range US.
Okay.
And support, you have support throughout those 2 years and all that.
Yeah, absolutely. We have that's part of building this business up is making sure we have the right people behind it too. So we have an IT department, we have a development department. Obviously, with any sort of software, the development's never done. You're always looking for ways to improve and looking for efficiencies and just anything that we can do to improve it and make it better. So we kind of we see that, the next 10 years, and where we want to be with the machine and what enhancements and what it needs to be able to do, kind of have it all, all mapped out over the next 10 years. So,
yeah.
So what size is the tunnel? Because I'm in California. I have a lot of good old boys that that have four-wheel drives that are raised and height challenged. So what am I looking at?
It can scan any 1500 truck 100%, and then the 2500s without being lifted, we'll be able to scan those as well. Lifted vehicles, it's going to have a tough time just because of the height. So that was one of the compromises we had to make. Is, if we make the machine bigger and bigger and bigger, then all of a sudden it can't be moved as efficiently. And then on the smaller vehicles, you're going to have to sacrifice some quality on those.
What about what about hanging it with a hoist up in the ceiling?
Really? Is there that many
insurance?
Yeah. Well,
I'm asking questions.
Is there that many lifted trucks out there in the world that's going to have hail damage?
In Calgary, Alberta, there is definitely.
Oh, right. Okay, maybe. Well, definitely not in California because we don't see hail out here.
Yeah. In Texas, maybe.
Texas, yeah, they got a bunch of
definitely.
trucks. Yeah,
but no, I just want to just ask. So, so it's 300,000. Okay, I'm good to go. What are some advantages that you see with this thing that you didn't anticipate at first?
Well, I think one of the biggest ones that I've noticed is the ability to have a hail map, basically. So, as we were talking before the show, I'm up in Canada. Our insurance company has a 2-year date to get your vehicle fixed from the date of loss. A lot of people wait till the end, hoping that they can get into a second storm, and then they only have the one deductible, all that kind of stuff. And, in where I'm at now, that's, not the biggest deal. But if you have a partnership or an insurance contract where you have to guarantee your estimates, and a customer comes back in later on down the road, and all of a sudden your initial estimate was $2,500. Now it's got $5,000 damage, and the insurer is swearing up and down that no, we were never in a second storm.
Yeah.
And now you're fighting with your insurance partners. You can rescan it and you can see the difference. So that's super cool. That was one of the things I really liked about it.
Yeah.
Nice. I like it.
No, it's good. Yeah, it keeps them honest. Hey, you know what? 2 years ago, you took 2 years to fix your truck or your car. 2 years ago, you didn't have this amount of damage on it. Now you do.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. I just wish it was, $49.95.
Come on. You of all people, Daniel, in our industry, it's such a small industry. Look at the price of our tools. People complain about the price of our tools.
I think you're rubbing off on me, Vince. I've been becoming cheaper. I don't know.
Yeah, well.
No, I mean, I'm not in hail, so it doesn't make any sense for me. But I'm a gadget guy and I'm a tool guy. So both of these are pushing my buttons. I would love to have one. I would just like to do all my estimates like that. I don't want to do hail estimates. I just want to do my regular estimates with it. Yeah. Drive on through. Yeah. We have a drive through. I mean, I would advertise the heck out of that. That'd be huge. Yeah. People would be impressed. You wouldn't you wouldn't miss anything. Sometimes I just get door dingers where they go, yeah, fix everything. I run it through. Takes me 2 seconds. I don't miss anything. And I capture everything. And then I won't get anybody coming back to me and saying, hey, you forgot this one. No, sure. That wasn't there.
Well, that's a natural thing for us. As dent guys, we get that tunnel vision sometimes. We're so focused on fixing that big dent, we forget about the little ones right next to us. So, that'll definitely mark that for you.
Hopefully in the future, it'll come down in cost, and maybe that will be a reality. I don't know.
Yeah.
And we know that it is cost prohibitive for some people, for a lot of people probably. But if you're a dent company that, chases a lot of hail and you feel like you're maybe right on the edge of breaking into, a bigger market or maybe landing that insurance deal that you've thought about and worked on, and this might be a good investment. I mean, $300,000, yes, it is a lot of money. No one's saying it isn't, but there's nobody who has it right now. So if you are prepared to put in that investment, it might take your business over the top and put you in a situation where you can make that money back plus some. So
This could be something for like some guy in Colorado that's thinking about getting out of pushing dents. You buy this machine, you bring it to Colorado, and you run estimates all day through it and sell those, jobs to the local dent companies or sell them, charge them for the estimating so they don't have to do it,
Actually, you just came up with a new business model. I'm quitting.
It is a business model, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I saw so much potential with it once I saw it. I'm like, holy cow! Maybe if I didn't take a position with Anson, I might buy one and go hang out in Colorado and just charge people for estimates.
So can you make me a miniature one for motorcycle tanks?
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Okay, good. Sure. Good answer. Good answer.
It'll be out tomorrow, Daniel.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Well, you guys have any other burning desires you want to throw out there for our listening audience about this awesome technology?
Well, just I guess I want to say, if this interests you, if this is something that you can see helping, your business, and if it's a money thing, we still reach out, still talk to us, give us a chance. There's always the opportunity for some, strategic relationships. So don't just think because I don't have 300,000 that I can't have a conversation. We'd love to talk to anybody. We really do believe in this technology and think that it can take businesses to a new level. And if it's cost prohibitive, don't shut down your dreams. Give us a shout, and we can see if we can work together on something that makes sense for everybody. So.
And I do have to say, the short amount of time that I spent in Canada, you guys are like the nicest people in the world. You are our friendly neighbors to the north.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah.
Not only that, but like the most apologetic too. I don't think I've heard the word sorry more this past weekend when I was up there for 4 days. They were sorry for everything. I'm like, that's okay. You didn't hold the door open for me. It's okay. Or I dropped a napkin. Oh, sorry, I knocked that out of your head. No, you didn't. I dropped the napkin. Don't worry about it. Very apologetic, very beautiful people. Great people up there.
It's totally true. We do say sorry a lot, and sometimes I don't even know why I say it.
Right. Sorry.
It just happens. Yeah. Sorry about that. Sorry for saying sorry.
All right. Well, that's awesome. Well, we'd like to thank you guys for coming on, and please feel free if you have something that you need to share with our community and you want to come back on here again. Just give myself or Daniel a ring, and we'll get you back on here immediely.
Oh, we appreciate it. Thank you.
You guys have a bright future. I'm very envious of you guys. You've taken something obviously this took a lot of work. I know what it takes to develop just a dent tool. I can't even imagine taking something like this and software. Talking with the boys at Mobile Tech RX and what they had to go through, I get a lot of insight on that, and I can't imagine this thing. So congratulations on that, because you guys deserve a big pat on the back for that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. And thanks for having us on the show, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Well,
and guys, buy a tunnel and level up your tools.
And if you're in Canada, you can buy your Magnatech mats and hog glue and tabs from DCC Dent Tools.
There you go. And John's not here, so I'll say don't do stupid stuff and keep it stiff.